Hey everybody, what is up? This is the Just Face It podcast. I'm here with my co-hosts Tater, the Psychocrast, and the Mocking Jace. And today we're going to be talking about Facebook gaming and our experiences. As the general topic, we're just going to kind of go around, talk about our experiences with some questions. But before we jump into that, we just kind of wanted to give you guys a general overview of what Facebook gaming is for any of you who may not be familiar. So, just to go ahead and jump into it, Facebook gaming is Facebook's live streaming platform for video game creators. It's very similar to other platforms out there like Twitch and Mixer. They have programs that you can tier through, such as Level Up and Partner, that are very similar to the traditional Twitch affiliate and partner programs that are there. And we'll probably get into more of the details of that as we go. But for anyone who may be watching this or listening and not know what that Facebook program is, if you just hit up fb.gg, it'll take you to the homepage of that. You can kind of check it out. It's got a very similar navigation to what you're probably used to from other platforms that you may have interacted with. And I think that's kind of what I have to say if anyone else wants to add anything.
I think you covered it.
All right.
Basically what it is.
I'm going to hand it over to the Mocking Jace then. He's going to kind of lead our discussion for today.
Yeah, so basically we're going to be talking about our experiences with specifically Facebook streaming, but just kind of streaming in general, give you guys a look into what we see from our point of view as streamers. So we're going to start out by asking a bunch of questions and go from there. So I'm curious. I actually don't know tons of everybody's backgrounds, know a little bit, but what first platform did you guys all stream on? Do you remember which game as well?
Game? No. Twitch was my platform. That was 3 years ago. No, wait. Almost 4 years ago now, when I first started streaming over on Twitch. And for the longest time, I just kind of did horror games. And then moved on to basically just being a variety streamer. It was last September I decided to quit Twitch completely. Actually, I almost quit streaming in general because of personal and issues that were coming along with other streamers on Twitch. And then I read an article saying Facebook was starting their own streaming platform. I looked into it and decided to give it a go. And here I am now. So, yay.
Right on.
So for us, I know when we first got started, we started, quote, started on Twitch. We had a page there for a while, and all we were really using it to stream was the charity event Extra Life each year, which for anyone who's been listening, we kind of talked about that, I believe, last episode. But we did that for 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
Just for the event. And I believe we're playing games like Diablo and stuff like that, whatever we were playing to try and make it through the 24 hours. But then when we started thinking about like actually doing streaming as a regular thing, some of the streamers that are really big on Twitch that we kind of look up to, when they always gave advice, they said, if you want this to be a thing, Twitch is probably not your best bet. They recommended either Mixer or Facebook. The reach that Facebook has really appealed to us just because you hit that share button and suddenly all of your friends have access to the video that you're watching. And that seemed like a good way to grow organically, and that's what, in the end, drew us to Facebook. I don't know if Tater wants to add anything.
I guess just basic, when we probably started around the beginning of November last year on Facebook, because that was right before our big Extra Life push, and then haven't stopped since.
Right on. I personally, I kind of did off and on streaming for a long time. Probably started first, I think, shortly after the original Xbox One came out, and they finally they got the Twitch app built in, so you could stream directly from the Xbox to Twitch. And so I did that every once in a while, just cause, no particular reason. Anytime I'd get a new game or something like that, I just put it up there because I loved being able to go to the store and see if it's a game I didn't know what it was, what the gameplay was. I could look at the gameplay, watch somebody else stream, and get an idea of what it was. So I did that every time I got a new game. But I never personally really watched streaming. I feel kind of out of the loop because that's not something I did. I didn't know streaming was a a thing for a long time. It still puzzles me that people like to watch streamers play games. I don't get me wrong, I appreciate it, but I still don't quite understand why. But it's awesome. But yeah, did that just kind of off and on, and then I got picked up for a gaming clan back on Xbox that was based around Xbox, and then they slowly moved cross-platform, and I ended up running their social media stuff and running their YouTube page and all that kind of stuff, and we would do weekly streams for our clan members and that kind of stuff. And so I got an idea of how various different platforms, YouTube, Mixer, Twitch, and all that work just by running that. And then let's say it started on Facebook streaming right when it actually started out. My page actually was made about a year ago, but then I didn't really do much with it. Took time off over the summer, and then really started doing it dedicated since, I want to say, last October. Yeah, and I've done Twitch, done Mixer, but Facebook is my home. Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of have like an answer to why you were saying like streaming is weird. The way I explain it, so people will watch like their favorite football teams or their favorite soccer teams or their favorite players just in general. They'll switch teams for that. I look at it as the same way for streaming. Like, you're going to watch your favorite player play this just because that's what you want to do. So, I mean, with esports, big rise a few years ago and everything going from there, it just made sense that streaming, being able to talk to like your favorite YouTuber, if they still call them that these days, and video game player would be able to talk right back to you. I just completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, I just thought of it that way. Like, people will pay tons of money to go see some guy play with a football for an hour or so. Why not sit at home and watch somebody for free play your favorite video games that you can't afford to play right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people use it too as like a, should I buy this game? Like, even personally, like, especially when I'm going through times when I don't have as much money, I'll just be like, let me go check this game out and watch an hour of gameplay, and if I like it, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll save up for this then.
Or having the opposite happen of where just watching somebody you enjoy, like watching, and then playing a new game, and you're like, oh, that looks really cool. I'm going to add that to my list.
Yeah, and I see the appeal now. It took me a while to kind of personally figure it out. Just not really knowing what streaming was for a long time. But I see the appeal now, whether it's watching your favorite esports team, these guys who are top tier, just absolutely crazy at what they do, or like you said, finding a new game, or somebody you can just talk to. And I think that's one of the great things about streaming is, and I'm sure it happens with all you guys, it's nice to see regular followers come in and they can tell you about their day.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that's important for a lot of people who may not necessarily have someone that they can talk to just about their day.
Yeah.
As easy as that. And it's
That and
an awesome thing.
I think one of the best things about Facebook is your name. So you get to call out everybody's specific name and you're not calling them by a gamer tag or something else that they don't necessarily always connect with. Facebook allows you to talk to all your viewers and everybody you interact with as themselves. And I think that's really cool.
Absolutely. Gives me more opportunities to butcher people's names.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we always go,
I'm always
"Please
like, I'm
correct
sorry.
us."
I mean, that's personally one of my favorite things about Facebook, is they break it down and like where all your viewers come from and that sort of stuff. You get this great sheet of analytics, and you get to meet all these people from all over the world that I wouldn't have met normally. I don't know about you guys, but like me personally, I mean, I play a lot of Overwatch. A lot of my viewers tend to come from the Philippines, Thailand, the Middle East, just people who I know I am ruining their first names. but I love talking to them, and it's cool because I never would have met them otherwise, not organically.
Yeah.
Yes.
The just kind of a piece of that for us is we really need to update it, but we have this map that hangs on our wall that's like one of those places you visit, world maps that you're supposed to like scratch them off as you visit different places. And what we did with that is we're actually scratching off the countries that our followers are from. So like I can look over at the map right now and we've got people in Australia, South Africa, all over Europe, some of the northern parts of Africa, Brazil, all over the US, Canada, Mexico, and it's like that's really awesome to see. Almost every continent in the US we have at least one viewer that we've touched. Still waiting on a penguin from Antarctica, but we'll get there.
Gotta find the penguins.
I'm apparently doing very well in Argentina. Argentina loves me, and Canada, which is weird too, but it's pretty awesome. It is great to see where everybody's coming from. My home state of Illinois does not love me very much, though. So that's great.
Yeah, I mean I think that's one of the coolest things about Facebook is, unlike a lot of other platforms, it's so much easier to be able to reach people in new places. And I think anything that can bring people together around the world is just awesome.
Yeah,
always makes me happy. Is there a first streamer that you guys remember watching specifically?
I probably have the easiest answer to this because mine was probably the most recent. Michael used streamers to try to get me into video games, and the first streamer I ever watched was a guy named Duck Sauce, and he streamed World of Warcraft. Now, did not care at all for the World of Warcraft, but his voice was top notch.
Yeah. For anyone who, or a lot of you probably don't know this, but he actually does voiceovers for movie trailers now, and that's his main job. So like all the blockbuster movies, if you hear like the really deep gruff voice, it's probably him these days.
Nice.
You can go ahead.
My Skirm was the first streamer I ever watched. And he does variety. He's one of Markiplier's friends, who's a really big YouTuber. He's the fourth largest grossing YouTuber as of last year. But that was the first streamer I watched. That was the first time I've ever heard of Twitch. No, you're good. But yeah, that got me into watching people, and then I went on a binge of trying to find all these new streamers. It was like a really, really antisocial week for me that week.
Sorry, I didn't mean to blast you guys. I muted myself on OBS, but I forgot to do it on Discord. Our cat was messing with something.
I figured.
For me, I don't really remember the very first streamer that I watched, but I remember the first streamer I watched regularly was probably Swifty. Because at the time, World of Warcraft was kind of my main game. I didn't really have a lot of money to play different games, but my mom agreed to pay for a monthly subscription to WoW, and that was kind of like what I did for a long time, so that was the first person I really connected to. But that's really the first one I remember watching with a regular basis, but I kind of hopped around before that, and I never really found anywhere that held me until him.
Right on. I think it wasn't a specific person for me. Like the easiest way for me to kind of get into watching streaming was honestly Rainbow Six Esports League. I think that's where I really got into it. It wasn't any specific team or person on there, but back at the time, that's when I was really into Rainbow Six Siege. Been playing it since alpha. I was really into it. That's what I played every day for like 2 years straight. And so it was cool for me to go and see these top tier players and the tactics that they used. For me, when I was starting off on Rainbow Six, you're hiding in a corner and you're like, oh no, I'm going to die. It was cool to watch them be super aggressive and running out there. And that's kind of how I got into it. Now I think there's not really any big name streamers I watch outside of people I know. I think usually if I watch a streamer, it's somebody I've made contact with either on Facebook or Twitch, not knowing necessarily like personally in person, but just that I've come across and I've enjoyed them, and I make sure to pop up for their streams. Was there any specific moment when you guys started streaming that you thought, I could really stick with this? This could become almost a little bit more than a hobby.
Yeah. So for me personally, I feel like the time that it really kind of struck home and I realized that it was something I enjoyed is when I would get off stream. Well, first of all, I'm going to be playing video games anyway, so there's, sorry guys, that element to it. But then on the other side, like when I would get off stream in the afternoons, even if I felt really tired starting it, when I got off, I always had like this sense of energy that was kind of like, wow, I really enjoyed what I just did, and I loved interacting with these people, which for anyone that may know me in real life is really weird because I am extremely introverted and usually talking to people exhausts me. But for some reason, it's just different with streaming. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, switching over to Facebook program.
Oop, you're cutting in and out, Justin. Do you want to go ahead, Tater?
Yeah, I'll go while Justin gets his mic. So I think when we started, I was like, yeah, we can try this. It's fine. It'll be good. And then I started having a couple of really bad like weeks at work, and I would just come home like completely in like a terrible mood, and Michael would always go, hey, do you want to stream tonight? And I'd be like, not really, but we'll do it anyways. And then one night he just like looked at me and went, you feel better, don't you? And I was like, I do actually. So being able to play and meet new people, it's always nice, and then just having it make you feel better too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me try this again.
You sound great.
Yeah, the hitting the level up program is really what did it for me. I had spent, like I said, 3 years on Twitch. I never hit affiliate. I barely made over 200 followers. It just wasn't working for me. I was a small guy doing horror in a oversaturated market of horror streamers. And then I switch over to Facebook and I hit 100 in less than a month, I think it was. And hit the level up program, and I just kept going. And it hasn't even been a full year yet now. And I'm getting really close to my goal of 1,000. So that's when I decided to keep with it.
Yeah, I think I think everybody, regardless of size, every streamer, regardless of the size of their audience, they still have moments of discouragement. But here and there, you get these moments, I think, that make you really think, I need to stick with this. And for me, it's been a small handful of moments. I think going over to Facebook and when I first started there and being able to hit level up pretty quickly, and I over on Twitch for a little bit too. Once I hit affiliate, I think those are good milestones that sort of validate what you're doing. But I think probably one of the biggest moments is when the first time I had 30 plus viewers in a stream, that it really hit home, and I was like, okay, I can actually stick with this. People were actually enjoying, and it was 30 followers, and then 30 viewers, and they didn't leave, after 20 minutes. But yeah, I think it's a lot of little moments that kind of help propel you forward. Now I think so with streaming, it's super easy to get discouraged. I don't know how many times I've seen it with friends and people I play with, where they've started streaming for a while, but then they get easily discouraged, whether it's people unfollowing or trolls or just nobody watching. Is there any specific, I don't know, say tactic that you guys use when you have somebody negative come into your stream? Any trolls?
We don't get a lot of the trolls, but focusing just like on being us and trying to not look at the numbers gets really important. I know for Michael, I'm always just like, you can't look at the numbers. They're not always going to be the best. You just can't look at them. They can't affect how we do things. Because if you're only doing it for the numbers, it's not going to be nearly as much fun.
Yeah, I mean, I know typically when we get... sorry, I totally just blanked there. Typically when we get the people who are trolling and things like that, we just ignore them, honestly. And 90% of the time, they just go away because they're like, hey, notice me. And then you just like read the comment right before theirs and right after theirs. And it's just like, they just get discouraged and they leave. And then sometimes I let it get the better of me. And if they really tick me off, I'm just like, I'm sorry someone hurt you. And I just leave it at that.
I think we've had a total of one person that just came in being completely belligerent, and they like typed a couple of things and we were like, delete, and then they went away.
Yeah.
You can leave now.
I killed them with kindness. In a very, not like outwardly sarcastic way, but if you know me personally, you know how my sarcasm is. I'm a very monotone kind of guy. So I just kind of kill them with that. Like, they'll say something. I don't really have an example that is appropriate to say, but they'll say something, and then I'll just be like, oh yeah, you're right. Maybe I should just go do that. It'll be great. And then eventually they'll just leave because they realize it's not making me mad. So
I think that's the key, is don't let your emotions become tied to what they're saying, because if they aren't getting reactions, they're going to go away.
You guys are so much nicer than me. Just want to say that. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is not to let it get to you. They're a small person sitting in their small home with no friends, who this is what they do for fun. Is try to get your goat. They're trying to get a reaction out of you. That's all they're looking for. I usually just say some clever retort real quick, depending on what they're saying, and then it's quick delete and ban, because I'm not gonna put up with that. Got people here who actually want to enjoy themselves and stream and don't need negativity.
Yeah. You definitely can't let it grab onto you, or they'll come back because they're like, oh, I had fun, I can get this person. and B, even if you like ban them, if people see a reaction coming out of you, A, that can make some people go away, but B, also sometimes it gets other people like that to come in. I think just you have to be really cautious with how you handle those situations, and sometimes just hitting the ban button's the most appropriate thing to do. Blah, blah.
Yeah, it all depends. I mean, I think the biggest thing with streaming, when you go into it, you present yourself as a public figure, and there's all the good and the bad that comes with it. You'll get people who like watching your streams, who enjoy talking to you, but you also got to be prepared to put yourself out there for ridicule, and they will attack everything. The way you look, the way your stream is, the way you play, everything about you, everything that is appearing on that screen is open for ridicule. And, that's the downside of being a public figure. So you've got to develop a thick skin, and quickly. You cannot let it get to you.
I guess I don't feel like we've experienced a lot of the whole negativity and judging and all that. Most of everybody who's come in our stream has been very nice, polite. They're trying to interact. They're trying to make sure that they are having a good time, and they're just asking questions and trying to get honest answers out of you, which is really nice. And I think one thing, back to what I was saying earlier, everybody's name on Facebook is their actual name, and I think that helps at least a little with people not being outwardly mean and rude and trolling everybody, is because all you have to do is click on their name and you have their entire lives right in front of you too. So
it's very true. I will say Facebook is generally nicer than other platforms I've streamed on.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's just because of the games I play, where they're PvP over competitive anyways. There's a certain type of crowd that comes with that. So maybe that's why my experience, I've had more, but it's awesome that you guys haven't. That makes me happy. Actually, I wish it was more like that for everybody.
See, we're really awful at the competitive game, so that may be part of it.
We're like, let's play this Stardew and this other cutesy game, and then we're gonna play Destiny, but don't expect great PvP because that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, if someone came into watching Stardew and they go, "You're trash at this game," I'd be like, "What are you talking about? I'm planting beets. What can I do wrong here?"
Using the wrong technique, I guess. There's no smack talking in Stardew. Huh. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about it, but you guys mentioned a little bit about it, but dealing with unfollows, negative growth, anything like that, stagnation, is there anything you guys specifically do?
Nothing specific. I just keep going. I treat it as another day. There's always going to be unfollows. You're never going to make everybody happy. And I've worked in retail and customer service for so long that to me it's just another day. They don't want to follow, then that's fine. But somebody else will come in, enjoy your content, and just want to watch you. So I don't think too heavy on the unfollows or the low amount of views, because on average I don't get as much as other streamers get, but even if I make just a couple people happy that day, then I've done my job.
Yeah, the unfollows don't bother me. I know they bother Michael a little, and again, we go back to you can't look at the numbers, but I think the stagnation is more of what gets to us. We're like, what else can we do? So we are trying not only growing our Facebook page and making sure we're interacting within our group and interacting in our Discord, trying Twitter, Instagram, and then we're trying, after we get all our payouts out for what we've done the month and have the money put towards the games that we need and everything else that we're doing for upkeep, maybe just putting a little more into a couple of page boosts, a couple of video posts, just to see if we can find anybody else who maybe wouldn't normally see our page and get their eyes on it.
Yeah, like Tater said, I'm definitely guilty of, like, when I see that unfollow, I'm like, oh, but ow, that sounded like it hurt.
That was my knee. I'm sorry,
Typically, I feel like it usually gets to me when it's in combination. So, like, when you hit those stagnation periods and then you also see the unfollows. So, like, if it about evens out for the day, usually it doesn't get to me as much. But when I actually see, like, the follower count going down, it's like, that gets to me. And it's probably just kind of the personality that I am and the fact that I want this. I have realistic goals knowing that there's a good chance this won't become a full-time thing. But in the back of, I feel like, every streamer's head, there's like, I want to be full-time because that's the dream. And I feel like I'm failing in some way when I see that follower count going down, even though I know some of those things are out of my control. It's just the not logical part of my brain takes over. So
I think a lot of that comes with doing variety. So we don't play the same game, and if we stop playing a certain game for a certain period of time, our follower numbers just like are inherently going to go down in my brain. So I'm just like, oh well, we haven't been playing X game for so long, so whoever came in for that game is gonna feel like they don't want to follow anymore, and that's okay, but we'll get back to it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it bugs everyone.
yeah,
when you get an unfollow or something like that. Honestly, it's not even so much that it bothers me that they left. Personally, I wish I could almost do like that feedback survey that websites have you do, where it's more of, okay, what did I do wrong, or what can I improve on?
Yeah.
To keep people around, and that is something I wish I could ask. You can't, because it's even though Facebook is pretty open about who follows and all that with your personal pages, there's still a bit of anonymity to it, and I can't search through everybody on there to find specifically who left. But yeah, I just, that's the one thing I wish I could just know what's going on. But I think ultimately you just gotta kind of push it to the side, ignore it, and continue forward. Yeah, Facebook streaming, I think streaming in general, it requires a certain amount of grit to it. I think you got to have a thick skin. You can't let other people bother you with their reactions, and you got to keep your head down, keep moving forward.
Yeah. And I think another thing to keep in mind for anyone that's considering starting streaming or is just getting started on their journey, probably not so applicable to people that have been in it a while, but maybe it is you have to realize that streamers that are very successful are like the 1%. And I know that sounds really discouraging, but going back to like kind of the sports analogy, like there's a lot of people growing up that are like, oh, I want to be an NFL player, I want to be an NBA player, and it's like you work your butt off trying to get there. But then there's also just a certain point where it's like, that's not the majority of people who try and get there. So as long as you're having a good time and go for it, continue to do it, but also have realistic expectations. Because like I said, every one of us wants to be full-time, I feel like, or at least I think so.
Yeah.
But you also have to have the realization that may not happen. And don't base everything you do on the fact that, oh, I'm going to be partnered next month after I just started streaming. So just make sure to keep those realistic expectations.
Absolutely. Completely agree. I think if you're getting into streaming, this is something that sounds appealing to you. You have to do it because it's fun. You can't do it with really any set expectations. Because it's tough. It's a super niche community. It's most even big streamers you look at, they're still working jobs every day. It's something you do because you enjoy doing it. It's fun to wind down at the end of the day with your followers, who become pretty much your friends, and just talk to them and play games. You got to do it because it's fun, not because you have any expectations of glory and fame.
Yeah.
what is the best piece of advice that you could give to somebody who is looking to grow their channel? Maybe they've just hit, let's say they've just hit level up on Facebook or maybe affiliate on Twitch or elsewhere. They're semi-established. What's the best piece of advice you could give them to continue growing?
Be consistent.
You want to elaborate on that for anyone who doesn't know?
You have to be consistent in everything. That's not just when you stream, but how often you stream and how often you're interacting and how you're putting yourself out there. Making sure that when somebody clicks like our name, they don't know exactly like what game they're going to be seeing, but they're going to know our attitude, our interactions, that we're going to say hi to everybody, that we're going to talk with them and play our game, and that we're going to try to make sure everybody's having a good time, and just make sure that that stays consistent and that maybe your bad days don't affect what you are putting out to other people.
Yeah, kind of to segue off of that, if you are having a bad day and you know you can't put the face on, as awful as that sounds, don't stream. Let your viewers know, because just like especially if you have a set schedule, just ghosting them and not doing anything and not saying what happened, just be like, hey guys, you don't have to go into details, just be like, hey guys, not having the best day today, got some personal stuff going on, look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, or something like that. Just keeping your stream in the loop, because a lot of your viewers end up getting invested in you as a person, because there is that personal element to it where you're interacting with them. And for instance, we have some people that show up almost every stream, and even if they're not there for long, they come in, they say, hey, how are you doing? How's your day been? And there's like that element of it. And if they're used to that and then suddenly you're not there, that can have not like a permanent effect on that relationship that you have, but there is like in the back of their head, they're going to be like, oh, well, this person wasn't there. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But then the other thing I would say is network organically. So this is actually something Tater and I were talking about last night, as we were laying in bed at 1 a.m. and couldn't sleep. It was really awful. But go out and find other people that you genuinely enjoy spending time in their channel and build that viewer-streamer connection with them as a viewer. And then maybe down the road, kind of approach them from a streamer side and say, hey, we kind of play these similar games. I know you enjoy this. I enjoy this. It may be cool to do a collaboration sometime. And do it organically that way. Never go into those kinds of relationships expecting growth from it. It definitely helps your page grow, but it only helps if it's organic. If that makes sense. I don't know if you get... Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like these guys here. I feel like you guys are some of our really good friends now, and it was all through organic meeting through streaming, so...
Yeah. I don't... the being consistent thing, yeah, that's the biggest thing I would say as well. Because honestly, I don't know how I've gotten to where I am. It just kind of keeps happening, so I'm just going with it. But to kind of touch on with what Smitch was saying, I have problems with depression. So there are days that I just post on my channel, and I'm sure you guys have seen it on your Facebook feed, where I just say, I'm not feeling it. I don't want to stream. And I just don't. I take a personal day. And then I come back the next day. And everybody's been really cool with understanding everything that's going on, as long as you're like open with them, like, hey, I'm just having a really bad day. I don't want to do this right now. I won't be myself. They'll appreciate that more than you just trying to fake it through a stream.
Yeah. And
so
I don't want to cut you off at all there, but I feel like one of the nice things that streaming has grown is that as people get more acquainted with the streaming concept and things like that, I feel like people are starting to lean more towards it's okay to take a personal day, whereas previously it's like you better be on stream 365 at least 4 hours a day. People are like, oh wait, streamers are people too. They have bad days. So I think
we're not. equal.
with the growth of the platforms, that's actually become like more of a thing that people are like, oh yeah, streamers take days off, and I feel like that's nice. But I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really didn't have much more to say than that because I mean, all I've really done is just been here, been myself. I met Tater and Smitch, a month after you guys started streaming?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
about that.
And it just started off as me just watching them, and I'm still consistently one of their top fans because I'm the best. And I just randomly one day was like, oh hey, I also stream, we should play together sometime, and then it's been that ever since. So
Now we have the Saturday Night Crew.
Yeah, and I
Saturday
think
Night
we
Crew.
played at least one other day a week for the past like couple. So
Yeah, so I mean, it's cool because you can make friends pretty easily as long as you're not like pushy, like, hey, I stream, come watch my channel, or dropping links in people's chats. I get that from time to time on my own page, which is not cool, but it happens.
Yeah, I feel like the only time it's appropriate, especially on Facebook, I feel like this is a bigger thing, is going into someone else's channel and using your streaming, because you can post as your streaming page. For people who may not know that, you have like a little drop down, at least on desktop, and you can post as yourself or any pages you manage. And I feel like it's poor etiquette, especially like the first few times you're coming into a stream, unless you have an established relationship with that person and know that they're okay with it. You probably shouldn't post as your page. Like, it's one thing to go in there and like it, but if you're continuously commenting as your page, and I know it happens accidentally sometimes, especially if you're on your phone, Facebook just sometimes decides you're your page that day.
yeah, Facebook on your phone just never cooperates.
But don't go in somewhere advertising yourself, even if it's not intentional, unless you already have that established relationship and know that the other person's okay with that.
And if you do it accidentally, apologize repeatedly, like I do. It happens a lot to me.
I don't know how many times I do that. I'm an admin on like, I think like 5 pages, Facebook pages now. And it's so many to keep switching through, and it's easy to do. It's easy to forget. But yeah, no, I think you guys are right. I mean, I think the best way to grow is simply through networking. And I mean, you guys pretty much covered it. You know, don't go in there just dropping your links and your schedules and everything like that. Just go in. I mean, talk to them. I think like a good example is like how I came across you guys, Tater and Smitch. Because I think I found you guys, I want to say last fall. I don't think it was too long after you guys started streaming.
No, I think you were
And
there fairly early too.
Yeah, and I was streaming Destiny 2 because I think it was right after Forsaken came out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Probably.
I stopped my stream, and I was curious who else was streaming, and I think you guys were on Destiny, and you guys stood out to me because you have the dual screen setup, and I was like, oh, that's actually really kind of cool. And I think I came in, I was just asking you guys questions about how you did it and that kind of stuff, but I think that's one of the best ways to kind of talk to other streamers without and let them know that you're a streamer as well without being super blatant about it in advertising, if that makes sense. Is ask them about their setup, what they do differently, and talk to them about the game, what games they like playing, and just kind of let it flow organically from there. Don't be that guy who in every stream, every Reddit post, every game they play is posting their stream link constantly. It's annoying. Nobody's going to want to follow you by doing that. It annoys me personally. I don't like following people who do that. It's not the best way to grow. And honestly, once you develop a relationship with other streamers, you start playing games with them, talking to them, just stopping by their chats. Facebook has its own rating type feature. They'll send viewers over to you if they like you well enough, but you shouldn't expect it. Just if it happens, it happens. Enjoy their stream, and hopefully they'll enjoy yours as well.
Yeah, and on top of rating, there's also I feel like a lot of people may not know about this, but there's actually what's called video chaining, So the way Facebook works is it'll actually, like, if someone's watching your video after you're live, when they finish the video, it'll actually chain them to the next video after like so many seconds, and you can actually set other people that your video will chain to. So that's kind of a cool feature you can do too. But once again, never expect it. And I just have to say real quick, one of my personal pet peeves is, even if you're not commenting as your channel, if you don't know the person very well, don't say, "Oh, just about to start up my stream myself." Because at least in my opinion, that comes across as, everyone in this chat should come check out my stream because I'm about to start, and that's like the only reason they're there, is to try and pull people away from you. And I know some people don't mean it that way, but that's how it comes across.
Yeah, it can be.
It's
I usually just try to say, I'm going to play games.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's going back to kindergarten. You have to learn about other people. You can't just be like, "Hey, it's all about me. I'm the best. Da da da." You have to make friends again, and it's just a different way of making friends, is through the internet and streaming and all that kind of thing.
There's a certain etiquette, and you'll learn it. You're going to blunder on it. Everyone does. But a lot of times people will correct you.
I was about to say, most people are at least nice enough, like, especially if it's the first time, they'll be like, "Hey, please don't do that here." Like, try and keep the chat clean.
I mean, like, I don't get, like, one thing specifically, which don't really get on Facebook as much, but if you're on like Twitch or Mixer elsewhere, is like follow for follow, lurk for lurk. I don't know how many times I'd be streaming on those. People would jump in and say F for F. Like, no, I don't know you.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Like, I don't care. And I try to tell them, I'm like, I don't do that. You're more than welcome to follow, but I'm not expecting it of you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give your channel a look, but I'm not gonna promise to follow. Like,
yeah,
Other
those are
advice: follow for follow does not work. It is not a way to keep consistent growth. It doesn't work. It's not organic growth. It's just a ploy, basically.
And I know
you could go and get 2,000 likes and follows, but nobody's watching. It doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always funny to me when you see, like you said, pages that have 1,000, 2,000 followers, and then they've got like 1 or 2 viewers, and I'm like, something here, like, sometimes there's those days. It happens. I understand. But then it's also if it's consistently happening, it's like, how did you get all those followers? But I don't want to dwell on that too much.
Funny little anecdote. The first time I saw F for F, I had no idea what it was. Everybody who's watching and listening, I'm old. So I had to Google what it meant. And then it brought me to Urban Dictionary, and I was like, oh, okay, one of those. And yeah, just don't do it. It doesn't benefit you at all. Just be you.
Yeah.
Talk to people, be nice.
Absolutely. What is so we'll talk a little bit about Facebook specifically. We're ending near the hour.
Mm-hmm.
What is everybody's favorite, I don't know, feature or aspect of Facebook streaming compared to other platforms?
No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like we touched on it, but my favorite thing is honestly, like Smitch said earlier, being able to hit that share button and all your friends can just watch your video if they want, and the fact that they can share and keep doing it. The reach is my favorite feature, because Twitch really doesn't have that at all. You had to use Twitter. I don't know how to use Twitter, I'm not going to lie. And it didn't really do good as the one guy who has no idea how to advertise himself. So that's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, my favorite thing so far, I don't know if you would call it a feature, but it's just the general attitude of the community of people that are on Facebook. At least in my experience thus far, there's been a lot nicer community overall. And that's not just viewers. I feel like it's also true for a lot of the streamers that are on the platform. Now, I'm not saying every person you're going to run into is going to be great, and I'm sure it's partially just the people that I watch, but I feel like people are a lot more welcoming, and just nice in general. Viewers, streamers, it's kind of refreshing. Because typically you're like, oh, the internet, people are awful on the internet. But it's been good so far.
I think I have two favorite things, but they're kind of linked. The first is you get to see everybody's real name. You get to connect with them by calling them by their real name, and I think that's very important to a lot of people. And then going along with that, the metrics you're able to get because Facebook has all this information and they can pull all your follower information, all your viewer information, all your reach simply by being a social media network. So they can pull all these and you can know all this very detailed information without having to work very hard for it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite aspect of it is, Facebook's already an established social media platform. Videos are still a relatively new part for them that they're working hard to break into, but their algorithm is my favorite part. The more likes, the more comments, the more shares your video has, the more likely it's going to appear in somebody else's newsfeed. Mm-hmm. So the more I get, if I'm playing Overwatch, some random person on the other side of the world, they've got Overwatch listed as something they like. The more likes and comments and shares I get, the more likely it's going to show up to them. And because of that, I think Facebook is way friendlier towards new and smaller streamers. And that's the part I like. A lot of other platforms you go on, it's really hard to break into. I don't want it to sound like we're completely bagging on Twitch, but Twitch is not small streamer friendly. They have no algorithm, no way of promoting smaller streamers. Even if you've got like a solid 20 people, like if you've got 150 followers on Twitch, you got 20 people who watch you stream every time, they're not promoting your stream. Mixer is a little bit better. They've got like up and coming categories, or if you're playing certain games, like if you're playing PUBG and you're in the top 10, like there's a chance your stream's going to pop up on their Mixer 1 channel. And YouTube is.
Do they still do the hype zone too?
Yeah, the hype zone. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then YouTube is a whole nother beast that I won't go into, but it's probably the hardest of them all to break into.
Yeah.
But that's what I enjoy about Facebook is it's friendly towards the new and smaller people, which is what I like. I think it's good to have competition. As much as I love some of those big streamers out there, some of the very top tier people with a couple million followers, it's good to see competition, makes them step up their game, and you get to see some fresh blood.
Yeah. I think it's also... oh, shoot. Hold on.
I think the competition between the platforms is good because it pushes Twitch, Facebook, Mixer, it pushes everybody to try to make their platforms better, and that gives the streamers who stream on them more options and more opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
My thought's gone. It's okay.
So I've just got one last question, I think. Now that we've all spent a decent amount of time streaming to Facebook and streaming on other platforms, what is the main thing that you think Facebook needs to really focus and improve on or fix going forward?
Oh man, I could really get into this one. I take everything I say in the following segment with love. I really do love our platform, but I want Facebook to do better at promoting themselves outside of Facebook, if that makes sense. So they're doing a really great job promoting themselves on the platform, but it's still really interesting regularly searching around the internet, looking at different places that are like social hubs for streaming and just like general things connected to streaming. Facebook is not a name that comes up very often, even though I would argue it's probably in the top 4 platforms as far as like viewers and number of streamers. And when I say the top 4, I'm thinking Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, and then probably Facebook. I'm not sure in what order those come in. I also acknowledge that there are other platforms out there like DLive, Caffeine. I can't remember what Hitbox is called now. But
Smashcast.
thank you. Yeah, so there are other platforms out there, but I feel like it's in the top 4, but very regularly it's left off the lists. And then more recently, you've seen people not as attached to Twitch and actually broadcasting to multiple platforms like development studios and stuff. For instance, the big thing Bungie did with Destiny when they were talking about doing cross-save across platforms. And in order to like kind of hit that point home, they actually streamed to Mixer, Twitch, and YouTube, but Facebook was missing from that equation. And I know that I think there's some back-end stuff with Facebook that makes it a little harder, just because I know like restreaming platforms and stuff like that have more trouble with Facebook too. But I want them to push themselves more outside of Facebook, is the grand total of what I'm saying.
I think... Oh, do you have something else?
I was just going to say, I could rant for this for like an hour, because it's really been on my mind lately, but...
I think what I would like is I would like Facebook Gaming to be a little more transparent with not only their partners and what's coming, but because I know the partners get a lot more information, but I feel like as Level Up streamers, we don't get a lot of the, hey, here's what we're working on things. I only know that they're working on certain things when I watch the partner streams and they're like, oh, we're testing this today. And I'm like, oh, well, if y'all are testing that, if it goes well, eventually it'll come down the line to us. But Facebook gives you none of that transparency. I know they've tested low latency. They're doing stickers and things like that, but we get none of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I Smitch touched up on my big pet peeve with Facebook, and that is the lack of advertisement. And then Tater touched up on another thing I dislike is the shadow that us level ups get versus partners. I actually know a partner, so I do know a little bit of the inside, which is kind of cool. I don't know a whole lot, but they get new stuff brought to their attention like 2 to 3 months before Facebook actually plans to put it out completely for it. So if they would give Level Up streamers a little bit more insight, I think that'd be more encouraging for people to stick with the platform and grow with it in the future.
Yeah, I think it would also help, like when they roll out new features, having more early adoption. Because I know there's been certain features on Facebook that get rolled out and then you just don't know about them unless you know someone else who's using them. For instance, like chat commands. I know a lot of people that still don't even have chat commands on because it was just kind of a stealth rollout they did. Sorry, Jace.
No. No, I think you guys covered everything. I think one of the biggest things is just transparency. I think they've got a blog posted on their support website for Facebook Gaming, but a lot of the announcements I see on there are about E3 or esports competitions or that kind of stuff, which interesting. But I want patch notes essentially.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know? I want to read through what's coming, what's been changed, all that kind of stuff, instead of just logging into my Facebook dashboard and saying, "Oh, that's there now."
Exactly.
Yeah, I was scrolling that page this week trying to find information for this podcast, and I was like, oh, there's a blog, yes. And then I started scrolling, and it was like E3. We're gonna be at PAX East. We're gonna be at PAX West. This game is launching. Welcome Project Scarlet. And I was like, but what about Facebook Gaming? What can I find out about this?
Yeah, and it seems like they're putting all their advertising into those conferences and that kind of stuff. Where I don't know how many times I have viewers pop in and say, "Oh, I didn't even know Facebook had streaming. I didn't know that was a thing."
Yeah. You tell people that you stream, and they're like, "What's your Twitch?" And you're like, "Actually,
Facebook.
Stream
Yeah.
on Facebook, and they're like, really?
I didn't know they did that."
Yes.
So I think they need to fix transparency, advertising, like you guys said, and I just want the dashboard fixed. If any of you guys are watching Facebook streamers regularly, bear with us. The chat scrolling doesn't always work, and it gets really old.
Very old.
It's simple little things like that I want to see fixed.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't let any of what we're saying like discourage you. Facebook is still amazing a platform. Everything we're saying it with love because we want it to.
We want it to be better.
Yeah, we want it to improve. We want it to be the best platform out there because it's the one we're on.
And also, for anyone listening to this, remember that as of tomorrow, Facebook is celebrating 1 year. So it is just officially turning 1. And for
It's
anyone
still a baby
looking at it
platform.
thinking there's a lot of stuff missing, or while Twitch has this, Facebook doesn't, Twitch has been around for a while. So when we say these things, it's like, we're not like, oh, we're going to jump ship and go to Twitch because it's so much better. We see these other things that people are doing, and these are the problems that we have. Please fix them because we want to stay here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I look at it, it's a year old. It's basically like playing an early access game on Steam. There's bound to be bugs, but they'll stick with it. They'll fix it. Facebook's pouring tons of money into their gaming and video side, so they'll get there. It might take some time, but they'll get there. Well, that is all the questions that I had. I don't know if there was anything else you guys wanted to specifically cover for this week.
I don't think so. I would say, just real quick, I don't know if we ever do this, but for all of us to just kind of shout out what our names are and where you can find us, in case you're not familiar with us personally and found us through one of the other people that host and or just randomly on the internet, because that's the glory of the internet. But I can start. We're Tater and Smitch. This lovely lady over here is my wife and my co-host.
Hi.
And you can find us at Tater and Smitch on basically every platform. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you see us in Twitch and Mixer chats, we're also Tater and Smitch. So that's us.
I'm Mark. No, I am Justin. I am the Psychoscrast. You can find me over at the Psychoscrast on Facebook. I think somebody put a link in. It's really weird spelling. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, but like I said earlier, I don't know how to use Twitter, so I'll probably never write you on that. My bad. And I think I have a Snapchat. I'm not 100% sure on that, but definitely have a Facebook. So go check that out.
Snapchat scares me.
Yeah, and I'm Jace. Go by the Mocking Jace TV, and straight up on Facebook. Like Psycho's Crest. I have Twitter. I don't use it often, although I use the Just Face It podcast Twitter account. So you can always send us a message over there. Just Face It podcast we stream on Facebook every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll also put a live video or a recording of today's stream up on YouTube on our page there. And audio form is going to be available on pretty much all podcast services, Spotify, wherever. And yeah, you can follow us all over there, or you can send us an email if you have questions at justfaceitpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out to us on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, and we'll be sure to get back to you with your questions. If you guys have any suggestions for what you want to hear about, know about more on future episodes, please shoot us a message. Or if you have suggestions on how we can improve, we're open to it. But I think that's it for us this week.
Thank you for everyone who came out.
Thank you.
We enjoy each and every one of you spending time with us. And thank you for all of our listeners on podcast services and YouTube. And we can't wait to talk with you guys again next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.